I wonder if the theme music for Reading Rainbow is copyrighted. So I could maybe use that in my intro. Today I'm doing another T2 book club, 2 videos. This will be the first one. I'm trying out some new authors. The first of which is Dean Koontz. And I kind of didn't expect much from Dean Koontz over the years because he puts out so many books. Why is the light so low? I feel like it's a little dark in here. I think he actually has more books than Stephen King. And Stephen King is like, people make fun of him for being prolific. There was a Saturday Night Live sketch where they opened up a closet and the guy was supposed to be Stephen King. And there was like all these manuscripts that he never even submitted in books and just stuff just like piled in. But anyway, my mom recommended these Odd Thomas books. So I read 3 of them. There's like 7. So I want to let you know. If you've never read these, they're really easy to read. Like, I read this in like 2 days. I think the other one's 2 days, maybe 3 days on the last one. It's got a really good pacing to it. Usually you can tell different authors' writing styles. Like Stephen King always says that thing where he'll like give you the inner dialogue of what a person's thinking, or he'll just like repeat phrases that have been like little callbacks, like in italics. He does that kind of thing. Orson Scott Card, the Ender's Game books, he always had like a little intro of like a conversation that was going on before you get to the chapter, and it was pretty cool. Dean Koontz, he writes a lot of really small paragraphs, like a sentence or two, and then his next paragraph, sentence or two, next paragraph. And I don't know if that helps the pacing, but it keeps it going really good, where it's constantly new stuff happening, and I guess it just makes it a page turner. I don't know if his other books are like that or just the Thomas books, but it's about a guy who sees what he calls the lingering dead, kind of like ghosts. Well, actually, it is ghosts, but there might be some other stuff that counts. Because the 3rd book kind of got weird. There was this person that was like the angel of death or something. Not really sure how that works out. Because usually the ghosts appear as they were when they died. So he can kind of tell how they died. But he also has Elvis Presley hang out with him all the time. That's the one ghost that can change his look. And he always looks like whatever movie Elvis was in, like the costume he wore. And he kind of makes it up on his own. He can appear however he wants to. And then, yeah, all 3 books, Elvis is with him. And then at the end of the 3rd book, he convinces Elvis to like move on. And then Frank Sinatra shows up. I don't know. That seems kind of weird. Like, wouldn't that mean Frank Sinatra was around the whole time? He's kind of like drawn to ghosts. It's pretty cool because it's like a superhero story. But Odd Thomas, that's his name. His first name is Odd. His last name is Thomas. He has abilities, but there's drawbacks. Because, like, he's not really afraid of ghosts because he sees them all the time. But then he gets pulled into situations that are scary. And he doesn't like using guns because his mom kind of held him hostage, sort of like pretending she was going to kill herself with a gun, and like used it against him. So he doesn't like guns. He uses them if he has to, but he doesn't prefer to. So he usually just goes into dangerous situations just by himself with no weapons, and he ends up like winning somehow. Usually it's because he has some ghost around, or he knows some kind of extra knowledge the other person doesn't know. But it's like, he says in the book that because his life is so complicated that he tries to reduce complications. So he never travels, never goes anywhere. He's just a simple fry cook in a restaurant. And he has like a girlfriend that he's like in love with, really. And then like the first book is about like not a school shooter, but 2 guys or 3 guys are going to like shoot up a mall. Doesn't really explain why very much, but it's pretty interesting because he ends up, like, there's still like several people died, like 19 people I think were murdered, but it would have been like hundreds if he hadn't saved them. But one of the people that were murdered is his girlfriend. Spoiler alert! A little late for that, but Yeah, he loses his girlfriend at the end of this book, so that's kind of like one of his motivations for the other books is like he sees her as a ghost for a little while, I think, because he doesn't realize she's dead for a while, and then he does, and then he convinces her to move on, so then she's gone. But then she kind of starts communicating with him through somebody else. So I don't really know how that works. Maybe they'll explain it. So then the second book, I'm trying to think if there's anything else about the first book, the motivations of those guys that were shooting up the place. I think one of them was a cop too, yeah. So anyway, the second book, there was some kind of boring parts. Not really boring part. Like, here's what I figured out about Dean Koontz. I think one of the reasons why it goes by so fast, he doesn't give you a lot of description about scenery. He doesn't spend a lot of time like saying, oh, I think this third book takes place in a castle. He doesn't really tell you like the details of the castle. Just like it's like a monastery. It's like an old castle. And then your imagination does all the work. It fills in all the blank. You can imagine however you want. So if different people read the book differently, different people are going to imagine the scenery differently. But it doesn't. It's way less work for an author to do. You have to write all that bullshit. But people always say if you write books, you have to show it instead of telling it. So I think I might start a novel here pretty soon. I got an outline. I got an idea for a book, and yeah, there's like 3 acts. You're supposed to do like an introduction that kind of explains the characters and stuff, and you get the middle part where all the, what is it called? Crossing the threshold or whatever, and then the third part is kind of like the wrap up and the conclusion and the twist. Grab his what was that? Anyway, so less work on the scenery seems like a thing you could do. So this book is kind of weird. The antagonist is like this woman, and she's like super attractive, I guess, and like she has these minions that she's kind of like, she was a phone sex operator or something, and she like seduced these 2 or 3 guys, and they're like madly in love with her, and almost like sycophantic followers of a cult or something. And they like her henchmen that do her bidding, and she's like holed up in this abandoned casino out in the middle of the desert. So what was the beginning of this book? I remember how it came to be. He ends up going through like the subway system and comes out in this casino, and it's almost like a Fallout 4 kind of a thing. Like everything's falling apart. You got to go up and down elevator shafts because the elevators don't work because the power's off and the ceiling's caving in and everything's all trashed. So he ends up like taking those people out. I think he steals a gun from one. He kicks one of them out of the window, and then the one guy chases him into the sewers. But then there's like a big rainstorm coming, and it floods, and ends up drowning the other guy, and he barely survives. That's pretty good though. But when he was in the sewer, like describing the twists and turns of the sewer, that was when it like really got. He started describing the scene, and it got boring for a second. I was like, how long is this going to go on for? I'm trying to remember because I read this like last week. Pretty good though. So then the third book, he decides he wants a break from all this bullshit, and he leaves his town of Pico Mundo, which means small much. Mundo, what does Mundo mean? Mountain? No. I don't know what Pico Mundo means. I'll look that up actually. Pico Mundo translated. Peak world. Oh, okay. Mundo means world. I was thinking about like that Bleach anime, Hueco Mundo. What's Hueco Mundo mean? Hollow world. Yeah. That makes sense. So anyway, he goes to this monastery to live with these monks. And that's pretty cool. It's almost like the guy from Game of Thrones. I was describing like living in a dingy castle with a bunch of dudes. And there's like this guy, he's like a scientist. He's working on some kind of I didn't realize like living in a monastery was like that, where you could do kind of all this like modern day stuff if you wanted to, just kind of be on your own. As long as you're not like talking a lot, and you have like a vow of silence, or you take all these vows, you kind of do whatever you want. You don't really have to be like a priest and like. I mean, they have these like different call to prayers kind of things. That seems kind of. Oh, the lighting's improved here. That's nice. I can't remember what exactly was the main. It was kind of didn't really explain very well. Oh yeah, he's also got this superpower called psychic magnetism. So if he thinks about somebody and he's not interrupted, like he's not distracted, he can just kind of walk and wander aimlessly, and he'll end up going towards them. So he's never lost. Or he can also, it works backwards, like if he's thinking about somebody, it brings them towards him, because he couldn't stop thinking about the girl in book 2. And she was like drawn towards him. That's why he was trying to hide from her, and he couldn't hide from her because he was like psychically magnetizing her or something. I think that's his only 2 abilities: is talking to the dead, and then the psychic magnetism. He can't really predict the future, I don't think. But he can kind of like know things from the past if a ghost. See, the ghosts can't talk. None of them can. But they can kind of gesture and they like joke around with him and stuff. They can. Seems like you'd just be able to learn sign language, and you can talk to them, or have them. They can like touch him though. I'm not really explaining this very well. That's why you gotta read the books. The 3rd book, there's this big Russian guy. I think one of the monks was trying to open a portal or something. I can't remember what the hell happened in the end of this. Yeah, like he kept seeing these monsters that weren't ghosts. That's why I got kind of weird about his ability. Anyway, that's pretty good. So, I'm gonna start on the other video now. Check those out. There's also Odd Interlude. Oh yeah, this one's Forever Odd, and this one's Brother Odd. And there's Odd Interlude, Odd Apocalypse, Odd Saint Odd, and there's another one in there.